Hello, my name is Tracy Sierra, and I want to thank you for joining us today. We are here today to discuss what features are available through the VHS Learning platform that, as the title says, will support your parents and guardians through our VHS courses. During these difficult times, students need as much support as possible. We are going to give you some tools for your toolkit that you can share with your parents to put them into the loop and help them become a more integral part of the learning community. Our agenda today, I am going to briefly introduce myself, and then we are going to discuss 6 steps for supporting parents and guardians to become better and more effective support for their students. I will try to refer to these people as grown-ups during this presentation, which is a little less cumbersome than saying parents, guardians, grandparents, tutors, older siblings, and everyone else that may be helping the student at this point. Then under the how-to section, we will exit the PowerPoint and go into a course so that we can view, from the student's view, some of the best practices for both grown-ups and students to stay informed and organized. To conclude, we will address some questions that we have received before the presentation. Allow me to introduce myself. That's me. My name is Tracy Sierra, as I said, and I am an Educational Partnership Manager at VHS Learning. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, all of you, and as I have to mention, I hope to do it someday in person. I am a retired educator here in Massachusetts. During that time, I wore many hats. I was a cluster chair, a teacher mentor, an award-winning curriculum writer, and a student government advisor for 13 years. I retired exactly 4 weeks before the quarantine and began working at VHS Learning. And just as important to this webinar, I am also a mother of 2 high school students. I have a senior and a freshman. So as I speak to you today, I really wear many hats, as most of us do. I am an educator who understands how challenging education is in general, but especially this year, and how challenging it has been for our students. And I am a parent who helps my children structure 14 classes. That's right, 14 between the 2 of them. And that is sometimes a huge challenge. I know that parents find the many different learning systems that are utilized to be a challenge. So today will hopefully demystify some of the better aspects of our courses so they may bring them to bear at home. I realize that most of you are very familiar with VHS Learning, but I wanted to just take a moment and introduce you to some of the aspects of our organization that I find to be extremely special and extremely important to the success of our students. I'll pop all 6 of these in here right now. So why VHS Learning? Well, the market for online course providers is becoming more complex, larger, and harder to navigate as each year passes. There are many for-profit providers selling low-quality online courses. As a nonprofit, VHS Learning is quality-driven rather than profit-driven. We are dedicated to your student success, and that is why we are here today. All VHS Learning courses are facilitated by experienced and qualified teachers. 81% of VHS teachers hold a master's degree or higher, and all teachers are certified in their subject area. They are the lightning in the bottle. And toward the end of this presentation, we will discuss the most effective ways of communicating with them. Our courses emphasize interaction between students and teacher. Students are engaged and connected to an active classroom learning community. We have historically averaged class sizes of 21-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio to allow personal attention and quality feedback. Admittedly, the classes are a little bit larger this year, which is all the more reason why the at-home piece of the learning community needs to be brought in. Our teachers are trained to be responsive and timely and to facilitate thoughtful discussion in their online classrooms. One of the features that I'm going to point out to you is that every VHS student has a private personal discussion thread with their teacher. Teachers respond within 24 hours, Monday through Friday, and often sooner. VHS technical support can be accessed 24/7, and the response times are within 24 hours, Monday through Friday. I do realize sometimes it is challenging when someone refers you to a website to fill out a ticket, but within our organization, that is by far the quickest way to get to the individual that is going to help you. So we will discuss by the end of this how you can find that link. Our courses also include interactive lessons, group projects, hands-on labs, as well as discussion threads. We at VHS Learning play a unique role as a nonprofit, helping all types of schools with our course offerings, adding schedule flexibility and offering consistency through the openings and shutdowns of this pandemic. Collaboration has always been at the heart of what we do, having partnered with many organizations locally and around the world. Now our focus must be on collaborating inside our schools and with our grown-ups that support our students. VHS Learning brings students together from all over the world and connects them through subject matter as well as classroom interaction. Now I'm going to put up our mission and our vision statements. They stay in this presentation because they are at the core of what we do. And I believe our vision statement is why we are here today. Not very long ago, the world of online education became successful for a very small group of learners, our audiovisual learners. We're going to need to learn to create success for every kind of learner, because online learning is the wave of the future, as you all know. Whether they are going to college or they are going to create a career for themselves, somewhere along the way they are going to encounter some professional development or licensing process that will entail online learning. Teaching them how to structure themselves very early on is, of course, going to support them as they become lifelong learners. The next section of our webinar is going to be about tips for parents. I would like to say that a lot of these are just very good practices in general for parents and for teachers. What we need to do is learn to continue to do them and adapt them in certain ways to be part of our remote learning world. First of all, it's very important and also pretty challenging as a parent, I must say, to understand when work is due. Grown-ups should ensure students print out the weekly checklist at the beginning of each week. And for VHS Learning, and this is something that's very important for parents and students to know, is that our weeks begin on Wednesday. And they should review the checklist at the time, perhaps together, to strategize about when assignments will be completed. I understand it's very hard to structure our world. Our students have begun to regain a footage in sports and other extracurricular activities. So making sure that we understand the time commitment from the beginning is something that I would really like to emphasize to the grown-ups helping the students. And I am going to demonstrate where students can find this checklist later on in the presentation. I would like to encourage communication with the teacher. Every VHS Learning class is taught by an experienced certified high school teacher. Grown-ups should always encourage students to advocate for themselves. As a former teacher with a 60% special education population, this was always the goal, having a student reach out and explain what they needed. In our courses, we have more than one way to do that. We do use a private thread where they can request support from their teacher one-to-one. This is a great place for a student to communicate with the teacher if they feel they need an accommodation, or to remind the teacher of something going on or a basic structure that needs to be in place to support the success of the student. It would also be a great idea if parents or guardians or grown-ups began to strongly suggest and remind students to participate in the teacher hours. Our courses are, as most of you are aware, asynchronous, but there is one synchronous piece, and that is that teachers will offer office hours, so that if students have questions about an assignment or need to get a better understanding of material, the grown-ups can encourage them to attend office hours where they can explain concepts, answer questions, and chat with students. Super important if the child is absent. We understand as educators how very, very disruptive absences can be. So if a student is absent and there is a communication required, reaching out to the grown-ups and letting them know that the office hours are available will certainly help the student get caught up. On a little anecdotal piece, I had to exercise this as a parent earlier this week. My son had to sit in on office hours the other night. I had recognized his grade was not what it should be, And his teacher told me that she would hold office hours for him. I reminded him, and he went in his room, and I did quickly peek in to make sure he was doing what he was supposed to do, and things seem to have righted themselves around. At least I hope so. Office hours are going to be shared through the news items, and I will show you where to find those a little bit later on. And the next one is always very important. To show an interest in student progress, even as the site coordinator, it's known to us as the Hawthorne effect. Basically, people will behave differently when they are being watched. For our students, it means they will perform better in these courses when they know an adult in their life is interested in their success. Encourage grown-ups to talk to their students about managing their due dates. And our excellent practice, of course, that we will encourage more than once throughout this process of this webinar is that students should check off assignments on their printed worksheet as they are completed. This will help them stay on track. I used to encourage my students in the classroom all the time. I would print out weekly worksheets and then check, check, check as you're going along. This is the kind of practice that helps students stay organized. I've never believed that organization is an inherent skill. I used to explain to my students when they would become down on themselves, I would say to them, were you born knowing how to change the oil in a car? And of course they would tell me no. And I said, you are also not born knowing how to organize. And so it is part of our job to show them how to do this in order to help them succeed in online education. Reviewing the weekly progress report. This is a great feature, and I really wish that I could get one of these from my sending district, but basically it works like this. Parents and guardians receive a weekly email about their students' progress and review it with them every week. Key to this is having the data including email addresses for the grown-ups in the VHS Learning system. In the how-to section, we will show you how the students and grown-ups enter the data, ensuring all lines of communication are closed, full circle. A very important piece of information on the weekly progress report, and I will show you in the next slide what this email looks like. Everyone should pay attention to the last date the student accessed the course. As a mom, I love this feature. It gives me the opportunity, if needed, to look at when my student last logged in. I know that my biggest enemy out there is YouTube and the Xbox, and I see my student in front of the computer, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And this feature gives me the proof to say that I'm proud of them, that they have been logging in when they are and potentially change their behavior patterns when they don't. And in this next slide, we're going to show you that email sample. I'd like to point out a couple of features in this letter. First of all, straight up in the beginning, you have your grade. And it does say that is an in-progress grade. It also has in the first paragraph a link to the grade. So if you followed the link that my cursor is on right now, you're going to be taken to the part of the VHS Learning system, the student information system, where all the grades are calculated and displayed for you. So this is the access I was referring to just a moment ago. It says you last accessed your course on 10/28, and that will help the students to stay on task and for you as the parent to be ready to have that conversation with your student should you need to. I would also like to point out here at the bottom, where my cursor is now, that this is a link to a service request. We will discuss those a little bit more in a bit. I will show you how to open one. And really, I would like to encourage you, if you ever have something that you need to talk with someone, I encourage you to use the service link. The last of our practices is also going to be something that is somewhat commonsensical. However, all of our routines have become so very, very different lately. It is sometimes a conscious effort for a parent to reinvigorate the normalcy that our children need. And that is that we need to establish a routine. Except for office hours, as you know, all aspects of our course are asynchronous, which can be tough when it comes to consistency. It just lends itself to procrastination and avoidance in adults and kids. And parents should be encouraging to help their students and helping their students set up a routine so they learn to manage their time and their pace at work. Students are expected to attend and participate in these courses daily and at a regular and specific interval throughout the week to complete their work by due dates. Here's a very important piece. not only for our students that are already enrolled, but the students that may be enrolled into your courses next year, that there are a certain amount of hours that we expect students to be engaged. And for our core courses and regular courses, that would take 6 to 8 hours a week. For our honors level courses, it's about 8 to 10 hours. And for our advanced placement courses, the hourly expectation is approximately 10 to 12. At this point now, we are going to cover what we're going to discuss in the how-tos, and then I'm going to step off this PowerPoint and go into the courses and display these practices for you. Right now, there are 6 practices that we would like you to learn how to do and to put into your regular practice. Are first and foremost to print that weekly checklist that the students will check off completion of their work. We are going to show you how to view your students' progress. We are going to utilize or show your student how to utilize the private topic. We are going to show you where to find the office hours, what to do if you have to escalate a concern to the VHS Learning staff. And we're also, very importantly, in the end, going to show you how you make sure that parents and guardians' information is open in the student profile. So, excuse me for just one second. I'm going to come out of the PowerPoint, and I'm going to go into my homepage for a class that I'm very fond of, and I really like to promote to administration. It's called Cybersecurity. I'm going to be going through this course very quickly and skimming over some of the greatest aspects of this course, because this webinar is dedicated to explaining the grown-up role in supporting the student. But I would like to say, if anyone is interested in digging deeper in this, taking a deeper dive into any of our VHS courses, that I'd like you to reach out to me or anyone within VHS, and we will make sure that you have a demonstration of some of the great learning that goes on in here. Ironically enough, I'm in here as a student today in the cybersecurity site. I did not hack in, but one of the things that's fantastic about this course is that there are no prerequisites, no tests in here. It's all project-based units that are super interactive and super fun. Once again, if you would like to see anything about this, I encourage you to give us a call. So our first set of instructions then is how to print that weekly checklist. I'm going to actually enlarge the screen for you a little bit. Hang on, please. Sorry to make you all a little dizzy. So I'd really like to emphasize the blue bar at the top. It is going to be where you're going to find most of the links that you need that we are going to talk about today. So the first that we're going to do, again, is print this weekly checklist. So in order to do that, I'm going to go to the Lessons tab. And as you can see, the week 1 lesson opens up. You are going to find in the left-hand margin here that you have a series of tabs to the entire course. Right now, we're going to remain in week 1. And right at the top, it says the weekly overview and checklist. Before I go any further, I'm going to have to scroll down a little bit to show this to you. I am going to point out this feature, which is the listen feature. If you know of students, and you do know your students best, that would work best if someone read along with them or read to them, this is the feature that you would encourage your students to use. All right, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Here you're going to see some features that you would see on a classroom whiteboard that when you walk in first thing Monday morning, where you would see the lesson objectives and the assignments that are going to be due for the week. You can see some Bloom taxonomy and those lesson objectives, but this is what we're going to be looking at right down here. This is the checklist, and our instructions read right at the top to print this out as a guide and check off as you go along. So as you can see in the far left column, you have each assignment laid out, and in the middle column, or the larger column, you see the assignment description. As you can see, there is a diverse group of types of assignments that will be given. And eventually, of course, if this weren't week 1, you would see papers, and you would see labs, and you would see quizzes and tests as well in there. In the points column, you're going to see what each student learns for each one of these activities. And in the far column is where you would click off, or X off, check off the completion of the assignment. Right here at the bottom, Following me all the way over to your left is the print button where you would print those out each week. I would also like to encourage you that even if this class is online, that you should have a notebook, that your student should have a dedicated spot, a dedicated folder for printing out the items that they print out and for at least containing these weekly checklists for their records. Now, excuse me while I scroll back up. Don't mean to make you all dizzy doing this, sorry. Because the next feature that we are going to look at is to view your students' progress. Now, up here in the far right is your student's name. For this purpose, you're going to click on the student's name, and you're going to see a drop-down menu that says Progress. Please, at this point, click on Progress, and you're going to be taken to a very detailed page. A couple of the details in there are the ones I'm going to accent to you that need to be looked at more specifically. As you can see in the far left, again, you have your student's name, and you have a progress summary, and all of the other ways that you can click directly into whatever you need. For example, if you see in the progress summary each week that your student grades have dropped, then you may, and you ask why, and they say, well, I took a quiz. You can look directly at the quizzes report from the tab on the left. But to be more broad-based, you would just take a look at the grades right here. So as you can see, as you go down, there's quite a bit of detail in there. So I would like to have you pay attention to showing the grades. And I also want to, of course, bring out that login feature one more time so that you can examine when your student pays attention to the course. So here is another way that you can look at how many times they've logged in during the week to keep up with the work. Okay, now the next piece of this that we are going to discuss is the private thread. I would like to say here, though, that this is a student-based thread. I know that it is tempting for parents to go in, pretend they're the student, communicate with the teacher like that, or just straight out admit I'm the parent using this thread. We very much encourage that the integrity and the secrecy of this thread be maintained. So let me show you how the student can find it. And once again, encourage the student to communicate and advocate. Under the discussions link in our blue bar, once again, we're going to see some features here that are very interactive and very dynamic and a really enjoyable aspect of the course itself, which I'm not going to discuss today, but I'm going to go straight down below, pardon me for scrolling, to the private discussion thread. So here is where your student would be able to have that discussion with their teacher about any aspect of this that they feel they need support. In our case, we are not seeing anything because, of course, it's private, but this is where that exists. Again, our goal in the future should always be to give an opportunity to a student to privately connect with their teacher. So many of us are missing those connections in our life today. This is a very valuable piece of this to the students. And I always found as an educator that if you could make a personal connection, either online or in the classroom, that the student is going to pay more attention and going to do well in the class. The next feature that I would like to show you is where you can find the office hours. So I'm going to back up above the blue bar to the little home button in the top right on my cursor. And I'm going to click on that home button to find where my office hours are held. This is a master page. If your student is taking more than one VHS Learning course, they can pin them here, okay, so that you can access them more easily. And we are going to look right now, though, up at quick links under the VHS Learning Information Systems. I'm sorry, I'm going to back up a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm actually going to have to back up to the course homepage, which I would get right here. And as you can see below, under calendar, you have upcoming events. If you click on the caret next to upcoming events, here is where you would see office hours displayed by the teacher. And your student can log in and directly communicate with the teacher during synchronous intervals. And there may be other students there, But if they need to create some kind of an individual platform for the two to communicate, that's the point where your student would let the teacher know what they need. So, last feature that we are going to discuss is how to escalate any concerns to the VHS Learning staff. This is where we link on the home button. And this is where, from here, we would go under quick links to the VHS Learning Information System. This is where a student will be taken, or a parent could be taken, to the Student Information System to log in. I have put in a test login so that I can appear as a student. When you click the link, you're going to come to a dashboard that contains a lot of information, but you're going to go down to the student information from the margin on the left. Click right in, and we're going to be coming to a place where a student has entered the information to enroll in the course in the student information. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you're going to see guardian information. And at the bottom, you have emails. So right here is where you would put in the information that you wish to have as your learning or your communication platform. You would put it in there. You're going to be asked over here on the right to confirm that. Please note as well that there is an alternate email. So two grown-ups can enter in the ability to receive the data and the updates from their teachers weekly. And please don't forget to hit that save button, or else it won't happen. So I would like to remind all of you before we go back to our PowerPoint presentation that we are available to answer any questions for you that you may have. I'm going to be giving you my contact information at the end of this and show you as well where other things have been made available to you. Since these were submitted questions, I don't feel it's my place to change what the Curriculum and Instruction Department answered for them, so I'm just going to put them up here for you and let you take a quick peek. We want to say thank you at this point to all the site coordinators. You really do such a wonderful job for us, and you are the conduit here. And we do encourage for the site coordinators to be the primary point of contact for students and parents. It would be nice, I realize that, if putting the parent email into all the right spots inside the student information system may help to eliminate some of those check-ins. I hope that works out. But please remember how much we appreciate everything that you do for the kids and the grown-ups along the way. Thank you once again. Some of this answer has actually been answered all the way through. We want to encourage you once again, the most important thing, please pick up that weekly progress report. Check it off as it goes along. Sign into those student information system to receive that weekly email and review your progress with your students. Get in touch with us if you need anything else. We are here for you. I also do know that you have received in an email from us recently a flyer that has 6 steps for supporting parents and guardians so they can support the students. At the bottom of that flyer are links to both how you fill in the parent information part and how you can create a service ticket, which is the last piece of this that I'm going to review with you. Once again, we're going to refer to our navy blue line right here. Let me go backwards a little bit. Here we are at the course home. We're going to go up to our navy blue line here where you see that you have the course home, the lessons, discussions, etc. And we're going to talk about the help bar, last piece. Now this is our service center. there are a couple features here that will help students and parents. And the first one that I'm going to show you is our little backpack icon for students and parents to click on right here. What you're going to find under here are articles that students and parents can refer to should they need some support, and they can look up an answer, for example, how to use a Dropbox or how to take a quiz. You have a link in here to our academic calendar. There's also basics like how to log in and reset your password. So if you can find anything in here that helps, that's terrific. But if you still feel that you need to have someone give you a call, then this yellow bar right here that says request support is your next step. On the right here, you can still find some basics on how you're going to maybe troubleshoot on your own. But over here on the right, you have the contact support section, which you would fill out, and our students would be able to hear from someone within 24 hours. And should anything like this cause a delay in an assignment being handed in, then I'm sure that your teachers in that private thread would be willing to understand the delay. So I'm going to quickly jump back to my PowerPoint presentation, open it up one more time, and go to the last slide. Oops, back up, guys, which tells you how to get in touch with me. There is my name and my contact information. Please reach out to me. If I'm not the appropriate person to help you, I will forward your email, or I will help you create a service ticket. Once again, you have received an email that has a flyer called 6 Steps to Supporting Parents and Guardians that has links to putting parent contact information in and creating those service tickets that I just discussed. I want to thank you so much today, guys, for taking the time out. I know it's very busy, and we appreciate you doing this afternoon, and we really appreciate everything you do. So best of luck, take care, and I hope to meet you all one day in person.